Hello, everybody. Welcome to Durrett's Take. I decided I want to do an episode today because there's a lot that's happened over the past 24 hours. So let's get started. So first of all, I want to talk about the NBA playoff results from last night. So let's start with the Celtics versus Heat. What did I tell you? The better bench will win the game in the series. And what do you know? The Miami bench outscored the Celtics bench 22-18. Now, the Celtics were even lucky that it was that close because Duncan Robinson and Andre Iguodala had off night. So usually it should be higher. But anyways, Miami would not have won this game and would have not gotten to overtime without their bench protection. All the Celtics fans are going to make up excuses, and I'm not listening to that. Bottom line for Brad Stevens and the Celtics is have your bench give better protection on the offense and specific. Brad Wanamaker plays good defense. Robert Williams protects the rim and stuff. He does well. But on the offense end, they got to have better production if they want to even have a shot at winning the series. Also, it helps if one of your top three players performs like a top three player. Because Kemba Walker, he did a few clutch shots here and there, did not perform well. Now, Lakers, let's start with the Clippers first before I talk about the Nuggets and Lakers. Well. I must say, I couldn't believe the Clippers blew their 3-1 lead. For me, I'm actually glad because I hate when stars form their own super team. Unless it's like for my favorite team, of course. I hate it when LeBron and Bosh went to Miami and formed that super team. I'm glad my Mavs beat them in their first finals to kind of teach them a lesson. I hated it when KD joined the 73-win Warrior team. And then I hated it when Kawhi Leonard went to the Clippers and forced the Clippers to trade for Paul George to come here. Now, if Kawhi would have led to the Clippers and then tried to force the Paul George trade and just with have him and the other good bench players, and that was it, then I would be fine. But the fact that he forced that and forced the franchise basically to kind of readjust the priorities, I don't like that. So that's why I'm glad the Clippers lost. And I bet Kawhi's probably regretting that, forcing the Clippers to trade for Paul George at this point right now. In my opinion, Kawhi could have stayed in Toronto and have a better chance. But anyways, the key for next season for the Clippers is can they figure out their chemistry issue? Because talent's there. But can they figure out their chemistry issue? If so, they should be the favorites next season. They should win next season. But if they don't, then they're like the Lakers in 2011. Bryant, Dwight Howard, and Nash looked good on paper, but the chemistry wasn't there. And that's why they didn't get out of the first round. But, also Kobe having Achilles injury is the main reason why they didn't go out of the first round. But, yeah, that's why they didn't succeed. It'd be like a 1 or 2 seed like everyone thought they were going to be. It also may be time to realize that Doc Rivers is not as good as a coach as he once was, and it might be time to consider letting him go. And I'm fine to admit that. Like, I even think my own team, Mavs Rick Carlisle, I feel like, he's won one chip like Doc Rivers has. I feel like he's past his prime as a coach, and I feel like the Mavs should let him go as well. So I'm not afraid to say that. But as far as potential candidates, I can't think of any at the moment who would be good to replace Doc Rivers with the Clippers. But I think it's something that the owner Steve Ballmer should really give us consideration at this point, especially since Doc Rivers has blown multiple 3-1 leads as a head coach. So now talking about the Lakers versus the Nuggets. So this series should be interesting. The main reason I feel like the Nuggets were able to have success against the Clippers was because of the Clippers' lack of size, so Joker was able to do whatever he wanted. Well, the Joker can't post up against AD, McGee, or Dwight Howard with ease. He won't be able to do that. Also, LeBron, if he wants to, because he's shown that if he wants to play good defense, he can just shut down Jamal Murray if Murray's going off. So then it will come down to can the other Nuggets players step up. So against the Clippers that they can. So I'm not going to rule it out that they can't do the same thing against the Lakers. But facing LeBron in the playoffs is going to be a different animal for the Nuggets and something they've never experienced before, which means I feel like their youngness may finally catch up with them. So Lakers should win this series in 6 games. Will they? We shall see. Just don't. If you're the Lakers and have 3-1 lead, just don't give that up. Or you don't even let it get to that point. Because you know the Nuggets can come back from a 3-1 deficit. So transitioning to college football. So big news just came out there that the Big Ten will be playing football starting October 24th. This comes to me as a surprise and not as a surprise at the same time. And let me explain why. So it's a surprise in the fact that because just like 2 weeks ago, the Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren said we are not revisiting the subject, no football. But the best player, but you gotta look for clues here. That's the reason why. Okay, now it does make sense. The best player in the league started getting a petition signed. Then some Big Ten coaches called you out. Then some parents of the players went down to headquarters to protest. Then football for the other schools are starting to play, and while a few teams are getting COVID cases here or there, all in all, it seems to be going well enough. So with all those clues, it makes sense. So that's why it makes sense, but not make sense at the same time. And I'm glad they changed their mind. So with the start on October 24th, there's no way a Big Ten team is playing more than 8 games. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the exact schedule is going to be, but you can assume 8 games at the most. I feel like 9 games is really a stretch. So I feel like you're not going to have time to cram that in. And let's be honest, the Big 12 didn't have a championship game for some time, and it worked out for them just fine. So the Big Ten championship doesn't have to have a championship game. So pretty much Ohio State should win it outright either way. So I feel like you get rid of that, so each 8 games, and then each week has one bye week, and then they lose that bye week if they have to postpone the game due to COVID. So it's definitely going to be tricky. They didn't, because unlike this year, especially Big 12 and AC, they're not giving themselves as big of a window to get things done. So it's definitely going to be crammed in. But I feel like things can't work out for the Big Ten. Now, if you're a Group of 5 team or something like that, you're mad at the Big Ten's back, because that's a playoff spot being taken away from you and stuff. But all in all, I'm glad the Big Ten is deciding to play football this year and have another Power 5 conference back. Now, the Pac-12, I don't expect back at all this fall. One, you got forest fires like California and Washington. You got those to deal with. Second of all, the COVID restrictions in California and stuff are just so strict, and that's just going to be hard to kind of get things going. So I'd be very shocked that they are able to get in, not only in the fall. So right now they're maybe thinking Thanksgiving, which means they wouldn't be in the end of the playoff session, but by the end of October. But I just don't think that'll happen. So I'm going to be going over my college football games of the week, my top 5, like I did last week. And here we go. So number 5, I already talked about last week, so I won't talk about again with Tulsa, Oklahoma State. So if you want to see what I talked about there, just go back to my past videos. 4, I got 23 Appalachian State versus Marshall. The battle of the G5 teams here. Appalachian State looks good once again, like usual, like they have been the past few years. Marshall looks good, although it was against a bad team. So, but Marshall is looking to win its conference this year. Both winning that G5 spot in the Year 6 bowl game, so I expect it to be a close game. But I think Appalachian State on the road gets a win here, 34-30. 14 UCF versus Georgia Tech. I mean, congrats to Georgia Tech for getting one against Florida State. This makes it more of an interesting game, especially with UCF having 10 players opt out, including a few projected starters for the season. It comes down to UCF's offense is better than Florida State's. Because if UCF's offense is better than Florida State, and based off Saturday, it looks like it maybe could be, then they're going to win. But if UCF struggles on offense and it's more of a defense game, that's where Georgia Tech can get them. And I feel like UCF will survive here by touchdown, 27-20. 2, Houston versus Baylor. This has been an upset alert written all over it. Even though Houston coach Dan Holgerson has coached against Baylor before, it's a new coach staff, so that won't necessarily be an advantage this time around. But everything else leads towards Houston. They have a bunch of good transfers. I saw last year, and everybody's And they're supposed to be threatened to win the American this year because of what's happened in the Big 12 recently, and especially with Baylor having new coach staff, and all that stuff, and some key players going in the NFL. I just feel like has upset written all over. Now I'm going to take Baylor by one barely. The one that surprised me, Houston gets the upset here. So I have Baylor winning by 120-120 in a lower scoring game. And then the big game of the week, obviously, Saturday night, you got 17 Miami versus 18 Louisville. The ACC has their top 3 teams, like in Notre Dame, Clemson, and North Carolina. But the question is, who's that 4th team? Is it Miami? Is it Louisville? Is it another team like Virginia Tech or something? Like, we don't know. That's the interesting question. Is who's that 4th team? So this will be a game to help answer that question. So this is a hard one for me to predict. Is that Louisville? But I feel like Miami will escape with the win here, 23-20. So now I'm going to go over my NFL predictions for this week. I didn't go over last week, but I'm going to go over it this week. So you get the Bengals and Browns tomorrow for Thursday Night Football. And this one was a tough one for me to pick because I did like what I saw from Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But at home with the Browns, it's just hard for, even though Cincinnati and Cleveland not that far away from each other in the same state, I feel like, again, road teams, it's a struggle for them on Thursday nights to perform well. The Bengals kicker is questionable. That's my cause for some problems there, so I'm going to take the Browns. And then the Falcons versus Cowboys. I'm going to take the Cowboys here, barely, because the Cowboys will play Seattle next week, and that was probably going to be a loss, so the Cowboys can't afford to go 0-3. Neither can Falcons, of course, but Cowboys have more of the expectations, so they're going to, at home, they're going to try to get the win here. Especially since Cowboys will be one of the few teams that actually has fans in the stands. Giants versus Bears. Bears should win this one easily. Giants' offensive line is horrible, so Bears will get pressure and stop Saquon, so Bears should win this one. Lions versus Packers. Even though the Packers struggled both times against a bad Lions team last year, I feel like Packers may have something figured out here, so they should win this one pretty easily at home. Jaguars versus Titans. Now Jaguars might be able to get the upset against Tennessee, because Tennessee's not a world beater, if you will, but I'm going to expect Tennessee home to take care of business. Vikings versus Colts. This one was very hard for me to pick, because Vikings and defense is horrible, and the Colts defense looked horrible against Jacksonville. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the Vikings barely, just because I feel like maybe Philip Rivers will make a costly interception or something, or lose the game for them. Bills versus Dolphins. I'm going to have Bills win this one, because Dolphins are still kind of in that rebuilding mode until Tua starts. 49ers versus Jets. I'm going to take the 49ers in this one easily. If they struggle or lose, then that's going to be a concern for them. Rams versus Eagles. This one is my hardest one to pick. This one's going to be super interesting. I'm going to pick the Rams here to go to Philly and get the upset because of the Eagles' bad offensive line. Aaron Donald just had a feast there. Broncos versus Steelers. I feel like the Steelers won this one easily at home, just because. The Steelers defense is just going to destroy the Broncos' weak offensive line, in my opinion. Panthers versus Buccaneers. I'm going to take the Buccaneers here. Panthers can't play defense. Tom Brady should look better than normal. Washington versus Cardinals. This was, again, a tough one for me to pick, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Arizona. Because even though Arizona's offensive line is not great, I feel like Kyler Murray is such a great quarterback. He can scramble out and kind of avoid situations that Carson Wentz wasn't able to avoid. Chiefs versus Chargers. An interesting one here. But I'm going to take Chiefs here because the Chargers aren't that great on offense. Ravens versus Texans. I'm going to take Ravens here. I feel like their defense will just be able to shut down Deshaun Watson. Even though it's at home. Patriots versus Seahawks. I'm going to take the Seahawks here. The Seahawks will win this game easily, in my opinion, but we'll see if Patriots keep close. And then Saints are ready for Monday Night Football. Now, Michael Thomas won't be playing for this game, so it does make things interesting. But again, since the Raiders' defense is not that good, I think the Saints can still go in and get a win here, despite Michael Thomas being out. So that's my podcast for this week. I might make one more at the end of the week. We'll see. But thank you very much for listening today to Durrett's Take. Please subscribe to my channel. Tell everyone about me. Thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful day.